Hi everyone, Dr. Suneel Dhand, internal medicine physician. Welcome to another video. My goal as a physician is to get my patients off medications. I want all of my patients, if at all possible, to live a life free of medications, and I desire to keep them away from mainstream medicine and physicians by staying as healthy as possible. That is my goal as a doctor. One thing that I frequently deal with, and I find quite heart-wrenching, is people who are on way too many medicines. This problem is all too common, sadly. And one of the things that I find most disheartening about the modern day system and the way everything is set up is that it is basically designed to get people on as many medicines as possible. That's what the establishment wants for everyone. That's how money is made. And one of the most sad things I see on a daily basis in my work in hospitals is that elderly people come in and they are on sometimes 20, 30, 40 medications. It's utterly ridiculous. I have a name for it: medication list longer than arm syndrome. And the chances are that people out there listening, most of you, have somebody in your life, again probably an older person, who is on way more medications than they need. I spend a lot of time being consulted actually both in the hospital and outside the hospital on patients' medication lists, and frequently it is very possible to de-escalate many of the medicines. And it's important not just for the patient, because it's never a good idea to be on too many medicines, especially medicines you don't need, which cause side effects, adverse events, there are interactions, etc. But also, if we're talking about the United States, the fact that medications are expensive. It's expensive to be on lots of medicines, so you will save money by cutting down a medication list and de-prescribing medicines that are no longer necessary. Now, this is a bonanza, the current situation for big pharmaceutical companies. They are very happy that medicines are frequently overprescribed. They're making billions and billions of dollars a year, putting people on medications. Now, I'm not saying all medications are useless, but a lot of medications are useless, and many medications out there people don't need to be on. But of course, big pharmaceutical companies love the current situation. Statistics show that 40% of older people take 5 or more prescription medications. Many are on way more. Again, I see patients sometimes on 20, 30, 40 medications. I kid you not. And these medications are often interacting with each other, and often we're in the situation now, the clown world that we're in, where we prescribe medications to treat side effects from other medications a lot of the time. That's the situation we are in. Now, I can't emphasize enough, if you think that someone in your life is on way too many medicines, never de-escalate or stop any medicines yourself. This must be done under medical supervision. And my advice to you is that you find a physician that knows the patient. If you're talking about a relative, hopefully they have a doctor that will be receptive to the need to de-escalate a medication list, and you go over the medication list with them line by line. I've heard now pharmacists are even doing this. And as for the medication classes that I see the most issues arise with, here they are. Number 1, blood pressure medications, antihypertensives. Patients will often be mindlessly put on 2, 3, 4, 5 blood pressure medications, often by different doctors. And the problem is that as people age, blood pressure can tend to drop, especially at extremes of age. And what happens then is blood pressure will drop too low, patients will suffer from dizziness, they may pass out, they may fall. So it's very important, if you are an older patient especially, and you have been put on multiple blood pressure medications, make sure that your blood pressure stays under surveillance, because there's a fair chance that as you get older, those medications will be able to be de-escalated safely, again under medical supervision. Number 2, medications for mental health. Now, this covers a wide umbrella: antidepressants, medications for anxiety. There may be medications prescribed for cognitive impairment or dementia. But these medications will be added on one after another, and often patients will basically become like zombies. It is really very sad to see. And throw in some other medications into the mix that can also affect mental status, like pain medications, narcotics, gabapentin, medicines for neuropathy, and you can get a disaster where a patient is completely zonked out unnecessarily. No doctor has actually sat down and gone over the list and seen just how many medicines have been prescribed and how it's adversely affecting the mental status of the patient. People should grow old gracefully, and unless there's an extreme need, the goal isn't to get people on so many medications that they end up like zombies. That is not the ethical or morally right thing to do to our elderly population. Number 3, medications for chronic diseases. Now, there are a lot of chronic disease medications out there. There's some overlap with high blood pressure, which I've already talked about, but all of these quote-unquote chronic disease medications, life-saving medications, you have to ask yourself whether they are really necessary in certain patients. Not enough doctors do that. An example which springs to mind immediately would be statin medications. Now, I'm not saying that statin medications are never needed, but we have got to the point, in fact, we've been there for some time, where we dish them out like candy, and we don't actually think about this. Because if you look at the actual data, when you look at the studies and break them down, and you look at the absolute risk reduction, the number needed to treat, and the mortality benefit, which is frequently measured in days in some studies, an intelligent doctor must ask themselves, what are we doing here? Why are we robotically, or most doctors anyway, robotically prescribing these medications, especially at extremes of age? What are the real benefits? Could you get away with a lower dose, say, instead of a high dose, a lower dose? And is it even needed in the first place? I could give you a 3-hour lecture on the actual benefits and the side effects of statins, again, when you actually look at the studies. But as happens way too often, the pharmaceutical industry has actually run rings around the medical profession. Unfortunately, most members of the medical profession can't even quote you the actual benefits. They've been trained to robotically prescribe medications for certain conditions without actually thinking about it. But I'll save my talk on statins for another time. There are many other so-called chronic disease life-saving medications where when you look at the actual data, you have to ask the question, especially in an elderly patient, do they really need to still be on this medication? So I do hope you can find a physician if you have a relative in your life in this position with way too many medicines, medication list longer than arm syndrome. You can find a doctor who can safely go over the medication list and de-escalate everything. Again, I emphasize, don't do it yourself, don't stop medications yourself. It should be done under medical supervision. And there may be other alternatives because sadly, as I said, we're in a position where doctors, often different doctors, will mindlessly add on different medications before one medicine is even maxed out. Sometimes a medicine doesn't work, so another medicine is given, but the old medicine, which doesn't work, is not even stopped. And sometimes it doesn't even need to be black and white. You can get a bit creative in how medications are prescribed. For instance, aspirin. Some people won't take it every day, they'll take it every other day instead. Tailored for the patient and their unique needs. But the philosophy has to be to de-escalate medications. Be on as few as possible. Trust me, it will save you a lot of hassle, whether it's side effects, adverse events, interactions, and of course the bottom line, who wants to spend money on medications? I'm sure you've got better things to spend money on. Live a life on as few medications as possible, ideally none, but I know that's not possible for a lot of people. Thanks everyone for listening. Let me know your thoughts down below. Check out my online course and my Uncensored platform. Those links are down below. Remember, huge swathes of our healthcare and medical establishment are unfortunately completely and utterly corrupt. And one of the best things you can do for your health is to take charge of you and your family's health. Make the right decisions every day. Stay as healthy as possible so you have the best possible chance of staying away from mainstream medicine and doctors. Hit the like button if you like this video and the bell button for more similar videos in the future. We will talk again very soon.